Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm really excited to have joining me bassist Jeff Pilson. We're going to talk all about the new forthcoming Revolution Saints album and everything else going on in his career. I really love Jeff's enthusiasm and he has so much great stories to share with us. I know you guys are going to really love this episode. It's one of my favorites. Alrighty, let's jump in and let's get started. Awesome. Well, Jeff, first, I just want to start off by thanking you for joining the program. A longtime fan, and it's an honor to have you on the show today.
Oh, well, thanks. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So, obviously we want to talk about the Revolution Saints new album coming out. But before we specifically talk about the album, a lot of fans know about the band. It's been around for a number of years. Jack Blades, Doug Aldridge used to be in the band. They both recently left. How did you become involved with the project?
Well, basically, Serafino, who's the head of Frontier, it was his idea to bring Joel and I into the band when Doug and Jack left. So they asked me. I immediately said, yeah, of course. That sounds like something I would totally love to do. And Dean loved the idea, so it just happened instantaneously.
One of the things I thought of when I saw that you were joining, I was like, wow, you're already a very busy man, whether it's Foreigner, Black Swan, so the list could go on and on. What made you decide, I'm going to take on another project. This is another one that I want to do.
Well, for one thing, all I am is playing bass on it. So that lessens the amount of time that I'm involved. Because when I produce these projects, like M Machine and Black Swan, a lot of time. I mean, it's a labor of love. I'm not complaining, but it is a lot of work and time. But with Revolution Saints, because all I have to do is play bass, it's a much more freeing situation. And then to be in a band like that with these guys, I mean, come on.
Right. Now, had you ever worked with Dean or Joel before this?
I'd worked with Joel before. I'd never worked with Dean. I mean, Journey and Foreigner were on the road together in 2011. So, I mean, and I've known Dean forever.
Right.
But we never actually worked together. So this is cool.
That's awesome. So the new album does come out April 21st called Eagle's Flight. Like I said, there's a few albums beforehand that very melodic, great rock. What could fans expect from this album compared to the previous releases?
Well, I mean, it's still very melodic and still rock. I mean, it's kind of what Revolution Saints is about. It's about Dean's voice and just giving him all sorts of beautiful textures and colors to sing to. And I think we've done that. And Dean just completely, the vocals are just amazing on this record. I mean, he really, practically every line gives me goosebumps. And I'm so happy to see people recognizing him as a singer now, because, we've known for years how great a singer he is, but now he's really getting to show it. And it's so cool. And again, that's what Revolution Saints is all about. And I think you're going to just find it's heavy, it's grooving, and it's got some wonderful melody, and the songs are great. And Dean just sounds incredible. And Joel, I mean, come on. There's no more. I mean, nobody could be. You can't be a better player than Joel.
I agree.
You just couldn't. I mean, you really couldn't. He's as good as you get. So it's pretty amazing. And he's a great guy, and he's a great writer with lots of great ideas. So it's one of those bands that has so much potential, so much of a future. How could I say no to that?
Right. It's funny you mentioned Joel. I mean, I knew of Joel from when he was in Night Ranger, and then I remember seeing him on that metal show with Eddie Trunk. and just being blown away. And I've said this for the last 10, 15 years. He's probably my favorite new, and I use air quotes for that, new guitar player. So I always get excited any project that he's involved in.
He's so great. And funny, he was actually in Night Ranger when Night Ranger, Journey, and Foreigner toured into 2011. So Dean and Joel and I have already even been on the road together.
That is awesome. Now, you mentioned before that this project is easier for you because you don't have to do any of the producing. But talk about the songwriter. Did you get involved? I know in the past, Alessandro Del Vecchio has done a lot of the songwriting. Did he do a lot this time? Did you get involved in the songwriting?
Well, not yet. I mean, they actually had two full albums written when I joined. So I've actually played on two records already. So the second record is not that far away from being done that we're going to do, that we did with the three of us. So no writing on these two records, but then the following record, the plan is to start writing, and we're going to start all writing this summer. It'll be really fun.
It's amazing to me because, I mean, this album still hasn't come out yet, and you're already talking about doing album number 3 together. So, and that's a lot of work in a very short period of time, you know. And I think about this, a lot of the, I'll say, legacy rock and roll artists and that have, you know, been around 20, 30, 40 years, don't necessarily look to put out new material a lot of times. But here you are, you're talking about 3 albums in what could be a year, it sounds like.
Well, and a little more than that, but and you know, part of that is Alessandro. Got to give Alessandro a lot of credit. This guy, he's a powerful force, and he comes up with a lot of music. His writing is so essential and influential in this whole thing. So, I think having Alessandro is like having a secret weapon. It really is.
Absolutely. Now, for yourself as a songwriter, if you start writing some songs for Revolution Saints, and I know you said it's a couple of albums away still, do you approach that any different than when you were doing songwriting for Dokken or The End Machine or Black Swan or any of the other projects, or is it just like more of the same for you as a songwriter?
Well, I mean, you know, each one sort of has a working arrangement, like with End Machine, with George and I, you know, we've just got such a great chemistry. We get together and we write music. And sometimes, you know, in the past, we've written full songs, of course, you know, the It's Not Loves, the Dream Warriors, the, you know, Just Got Luckies. But then for M Machine, we get together, we write the music, and now we have a new singer by the name of Girish Pradhan, who is amazing. And he's been coming up with stuff in India, and we've been writing back and forth. So it's going to be really strong. With Black Swan, it's kind of the same thing in that Reb and I start, we get together, we write the music, we send it to Robin. Robin starts working on it. Then Robin and I get together and work on all the lyrics and melodies and come up with the finished songs. I have 2 songs right now that I've currently written that I sent to the Revolution Saints guys and that they want to work up this summer. So, and in that, I just wrote it like I'm just trying to write a great song. And I was starting to kind of think Revolution Saints in how I arranged it a little bit. But then once Alessandro gets it, then I'll let him do his thing, and then that'll kind of give it the Revolution Saints sheen, as it were.
Right. Now, you mentioned Dean as a singer, and to me, you've been blessed through your career to work with a bunch of great singers. And I do remember even going back to the 80s and 90s, a lot of Dokken fans saying, hey, Jeff's got a great voice. You know, Jeff might be the best singer in the band, with no disrespect to Don. Have you ever thought, hey, I should be singing more in my career? And I know you've done some lead.
Yeah, and there's been some, but you know, honestly, my honest feeling is, I don't think I have that exceptional a voice. So it's like, you know, I mean, if somebody else can sing it better, I would rather have somebody sing it who's better. I've kind of lost. I mean, I'm too old to have an ego about it anymore. So, I mean, I love to sing, and when I get chances to do it, I love to do it. But whenever I'm in a situation where I think somebody could do it better, that's, you know, I immediately have no problem with that.
Well, I know on some of the previous Revolution Saints albums, Jack Blaze would get a verse here or there, something like that. Anything like that for you on these albums?
Not so far. I mean, I don't think that's part of the plan. If it becomes part of the plan, great. But it's not big for me. It's not a huge thing for me.
Right. Well, you know, to me, your vocals are still all over it. So far, you've released 3 singles. You got the harmonies all over the place. To me, that's something that I've always thought of you whenever I've listen to Dokken or whoever, you've always got great harmonies. And to me, that's almost sometimes just as important as having a great singer, because those harmonies could be what makes or breaks a song, in my opinion.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, like I said, so far you have released 3 singles, right? Need Each Other, Talking Like Strangers, and then the title track. So talk about that and talk about filming videos in 2022, 2023, compared to what it was like in the 80s.
Well, doing videos now, it's become a little more streamlined than it was back then. I mean, it used to be, it was a big deal, and, usually it would really stupidly expensive and all this other stuff. So it's a lot more, like I say, compressed down now, which kind of makes it more fun. We did 5 videos for this record. Yeah. And it was over, the course of a week, and, a few months ago, and it was actually really fun because Dean and Joel are great guys. And it always starts from the top. And any band I'm in, I like to make sure that the vibe is good, and that that the message comes from the top, that this is cool, this is a good organization, we're good people. And then when that kind of floats down to everything, things go much smoother. People aren't all uptight and nervous and weird. And it just makes for a better working arrangement. And we just had a blast. I mean, we had a guest singer in on one of the songs. I'm spacing on her name at the moment, but she's great. There was just such a great vibe at those videos that I'm really glad it worked out the way it did.
That's awesome. Are you able to share what the other 2 videos are? Which songs?
No, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to or not. So
okay, so
I'm just going to opt out just in case. But
there you are. I like that.
I don't think it's a big surprise, but
okay. Now, with regards to recording the album, were you guys all together recording? Was this done remote sessions, each of you guys? How do you go about recording?
It was all done remotely.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's the amazing thing about now in the 2020s is that you can do something like that, and you can't tell.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And you know what? You wouldn't have all these wonderful projects out there if you couldn't do it like that, because everybody's busy. And, the time to set up like a band and play like a band and record like a band, that's, I mean, even Foreigner has a hard time doing that,
Right. So to that point, then, I mean, obviously, like you're saying, you guys all have different things. You've been doing Foreigner for 20 years. Is there any chance, I know like in 2017, the guys did the Frontiers Rock Festival together, right? Is there any chance you guys could do like a one-off show like that, or a cruise or something like that, where you play some of these songs live?
We're trying to figure out a way to make it happen. We're trying. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to stand right now. But we're all very open to the idea if somebody can come up with a logistical way of doing it that makes sense.
Well, maybe you got to get Journey and Foreigner, everybody, get Joel with Whitesnake on the road again, and you guys just all tour together and then do encores all together.
There are crazier ideas in the world.
As I'm saying, I'm like, yeah, this is never going to happen, but I could wish
it's never going to happen. But you know what? When you think about it, it would make sense.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Now, talking about Foreigner, I know you guys, I just read recently that it sounds like you're going to be doing a farewell tour this summer, starting in July. So, I mean, you've been there for 20 years. How does that feel hearing that, all right, this is going to be it for Foreigner?
Well, it's a little bittersweet. I mean, the band is feeling great. We're playing great. We're sounding great. Everybody's getting along wonderful. We're kind of firing on all cylinders, which you'd think that's an odd time to stop.
Right.
But I love the fact that we are stopping while we're on top. I mean, because, nothing makes you cringe more than when you see guys that are playing a little past their expiration date. And, we don't want to be one of those because, listen, we're of the age where we could be. So we're dedicated to the Foreigner legacy ending on a note that is as high as humanly possible, because we feel the legacy and Mick Jones deserve as much.
Yeah, and to that point, and we don't have to name bands here, but some of them do tend to stay on the road maybe a couple of years too long. And a big thing lately is a lot of bands playing with tracks and enhancements to them. So what are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, we don't do that in Foreigner because we don't need to. So, and And, I mean, I had to resist, even when I first joined the band, there were people at the time that were kind of pushing like, well, shouldn't the background vocals be on? No, we're going to sing them.
Right.
And we do, and we sing them really well. And we have great singers in the band, and I'm really proud of that. And I feel that is definitely an element which has contributed to our success over these last 20 years, because I think people sense it's a real band. They're really singing, they're really playing, they're really delivering. And, there's nothing better than that. That's what we're looking for. I mean, when a performance is just up there miming to tracks, essentially, then why not just stay home and listen to the record? And then that way you can, eat your Hot Pockets right there.
Oh man, that's great. Now, of course, there's going to be some group of fans that say farewell tour. Yeah, I heard that with The Who. I heard that with Ozzy. I've heard it with Kiss. I've heard it with Motley Crue, and so on and so on and so on. Now, obviously, we know Mick has had some health issues in the past. I know Kelly has said it's getting a little harder to sing some of the songs as he gets a little older. But why should fans say, yep, this is the real time? This time, Foreigner means it, and it's not going to be like all those other bands.
Well, I mean, I will say, I mean, we do have plans to go well into 2024 with this. Yep. At this point, that's all there is. So we'll see. I mean, if it gets pushed beyond that, I would be a little surprised, because I think Kelly and Mick are both pretty adamant about this whole situation. Having said that, I mean, I gotta guess there's also going to be a couple of prime offers coming along too.
I have to think, yes.
but what I can honestly tell you is we're not going to be like a Kiss or The Who. It's not going to be one of those, but it might be a couple of years, and I think that'd be fine.
There's nothing wrong with that. You have to give all the fans around the world. The world's a big place, and you want to give all the fans a chance.
Farewell year. We said farewell tour.
Yes, and there's a big difference between the two. Absolutely.
There is indeed.
Now, I would think for yourself personally, right? We were talking about joining Revolution Saints, and you already have a lot on your plate. With Foreigner winding down, it'll give you a little bit more opportunity to maybe go out and play other shows that maybe you haven't had a chance in a few decades.
Possibly, that would be great. That would be a great thing. If that can happen, I would be very happy with that.
And to that point, I mean, I know Don Dokken and George Lynch have been playing together. I don't expect you to reunite with them. Any chance you jump up on stage maybe for one show, one night with them, do a couple of encores?
It's not unheard of, but we'll see. The thing is, once you tread into the possible reunion territory, you don't want to minimize those situations. You want to maximize them. So, would I jump up? Sure, but I don't know. And I'd have to be there, and what are the chances are I'm going to be there? So, we'll see. I mean, who knows?
Right.
I'm not opposed to anything, and I love the guys, so why not?
Okay, well, that's good. And, speaking of Dokken, just for a moment, I know Mick Brunn had some health issues a few years back. He stopped playing. Have you heard from him at all? Any update for him?
Sure. No, Mick's doing great.
Oh, great.
He retired. He wanted to retire, and I was like, wow, that's great. So if you want to know the truth, Mick is doing better than he's done in a long time. When we talk to him now, he just sounds 20 years younger, and he looks great. And so Mick's doing great. Retirement is working for him. And his health issues, I mean, he has to deal with some health issues, but a lot of it is just, playing drums when you're, in your mid 60s is not exactly,
it's not an easy job.
Physically an easy job. And, it's not like he hits like this,
He's wild Mick Brunn for a reason.
Wild Mick Brunn, that's right.
Exactly.
So, but to answer your question, Mick's doing great. I haven't actually talked to him in a few months now, but last time I did was great. And I talk to his brother all the time, who's in the End Machine. So, and his brother says he's doing great. So,
well, that's awesome. I always give you guys a lot of credit. Like you said, Mick's not young. We're not young, right? We're all getting older, right? Mm-hmm. To me, at 60 plus years old, I jokingly say this all the time. I'm hoping I'm sitting on the couch, eating potato chips, watching TV, not traveling around the world, playing shows every night, doing interviews, etc. What keeps your drive and motivation to still do it, 40 plus years later?
The music, because I love music, and music is what keeps me alive and keeps me going. So, that's definitely the driving force. After that, then it's all the other things I love about the job. I love the fans, I love the connection with them. I love gear. I love my studio. I love this place. I could just melt in here for hours on end. So music is what keeps me alive.
That is so when you're not on the road, are you in your studio writing, recording, even just for yourself?
Right here. Yeah. This is my workshop.
That's
Yeah.
would you say you have like a collection of songs that you've written that maybe one day would see the light of day that hasn't been on a Black Swan album or the End Machine or Dokken?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's plenty of those. I'm kind of, the problem is I have several different little categories. So
Okay.
it's not like I have a full record in one direction just yet.
Mhm.
Someday I am kind of distantly working on something where a lot of the songs that I've written that won't fit anywhere else, but I kind of feel are sort of unique to my songwriting personality. I would like to finish those and put those on a record, and I'm in no hurry for it. And the plan was always to wait until Foreigner was done anyway. So
Mhm.
in the next few years, I'd like to put out a solo record of my material that's kind of different. But I when I do that, I want to do it correctly, and there's a lot of little details I'd have to work out before I'd ever do that. But I am thinking about that.
That's awesome. Is there, as a songwriter, is there any songs that when you wrote it, you said, "Damn, that's the one. That song's money right there."
Well, I admit when George and I wrote "It's Not Love" and "Just Got Lucky," those two struck, and even Dream Warriors, really, those struck me like, wow, these are good songs. Of lately, there's a song on the Lynch Pilson record called "Ever Higher." That was a song that just really felt magical when we did it. There's also a song on there called "A Breath and a Scream" that kind of felt like that. And now there's a few of them on the new M Machine record that we're working on that I'm highly excited about at the moment. But you wouldn't know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to reference
but one day I will.
But one day you will. And so there's been a few that I think it's really strong, but I still haven't wrote the greatest song in the world yet, so I got to keep working.
That's awesome. Now, do you ever feel like you're in competition with yourself? You said you haven't written the greatest song in the world yet, but you've written some damn good songs over the years. When you're writing songs, do you feel like, hey, this has got to compete against "It's Not Love" or "Just Got Lucky"? Or do you feel like, hey, it's 2023, I'm doing this for me, and I'm putting out what I like?
A little of both. I mean, you always have the pressure of what you've done because you're a product of what you've done. So that can't help but be the case. And yet there's also a little bit of a feeling of, well, I'm not 20 and I'm not going to go out and try and be some pop star or anything. So if I put out music now, it's from a different perspective than I would have at one time. Now, if I put out music, it's really just about putting out music. It's not about trying to get a hit or, sure, we want stuff to do well, but we understand the nature of the business and the machinery of the business. So we kind of know where we're at. So for me now, I just want to stand behind and do the music I love and put it out and see what happens. That's all I can do.
That's one of the things I always think of with artists that have had such a great career like yourself. In the 80s, and this success was a gold album, a platinum album, a double platinum album, which you had all of those, right? Success today is a lot different.
Dokken does not have any double platinums.
Really? Oh, wow.
They're real close, but not quite.
Okay. I wasn't sure if Back for the Attack went double platinum.
Yeah, it almost did. It's close. Okay.
Interesting. But
someday it'll
someday. Someday, exactly. I'll go out and buy a few more copies if you need to. Let me know.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes. No, but obviously, success in 2023 is not selling 1 million albums. So, for something like the Revolution Saints album coming out, what would be success for you?
Recognition. I mean, seriously. I mean, the record sales. I don't even pay attention to that on any projects anymore because whenever I do, it's kind of depressing. Like, those numbers, oh boy. But you can feel when something has excitement behind it and when there's momentum. And Revolution Saints has a lot of that. And I've gotten more emails about that than anything, and that's usually a good sign.
Well, I'll say this. I did hear a sneak peek of the album, and fans that love the first three songs to me are going to love the entire album because
I think
everything is just, one song after the other. I'm like, damn, that's a good one. Oh, that one might be my favorite. No, maybe this one's my favorite. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of feedback online has been positive, and I think when fans hear the whole album, it's going to just, be magnified even that much more.
I kind of have no doubt.
Now, you mentioned before about you working on stuff for the End Machine. What about your other projects that you're working on, like Black Swan? Is there other material going on with some of your other bands?
Black Swan isn't working at the moment, but the label has started inquiring about when we plan on writing. I'm hoping that I can start writing maybe at the end of this year, the end of 23. Reb and I starting to get together and writing some music. But I don't know yet for sure. But that's kind of what we started talking about. So hopefully in early 24, we'll start recording, and we'll hopefully at the end of this year, we'll start writing and start recording another Black Swan early in 24 for hopefully a release at the end of 24.
That is awesome. Now, I know that also in the past you've been involved in some master classes with the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and kind of helping some of the younger musicians, or in some cases maybe not so young. But what does that mean for you to kind of give back to the fans like that in that kind of environment?
Well, to me, that's the kind of stuff you do it. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. I mean, I wouldn't consider saying no to something like that. Because if you don't pass it down, where does it go?
True.
I mean, you could take the attitude, well, you take my music and then that's it. Interpret my music as you like and do what you like with it. But to me, that's a little arrogant. I prefer to be all inclusive in, I want to share with the community. I want to share with my friends. I want to share with the people I love. And that means the music too. So, and the process. I love the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing it a long time. And if I can help somebody in their process, why wouldn't I? I want to make more good music in the world, not less.
To me, that's one of the things talking with you right now that comes through loud and clear is that it's all these years later. And I feel like you're somebody who's just starting his career. That love for music and love for songwriting, to me, you seem as excited today as I would expect you to have been at 18 or 20 years old.
Well, I was crazy hyperactive then. But well, thank you. I mean, I and it's real. I consider myself very blessed, and I love music, and I love the people that I work with. I have nothing to complain about.
That is awesome. Now, I know, I guess about a month ago, you had a birthday. You finally turned 21. Congratulations. And on my site, I asked everybody, hey, for Jeff's birthday, what do you consider Jeff's home? And of course, there was people that said Foreigner because he'd been there for a couple of decades. People that said Black Swan because they love that project. Most people, of course, said Dokken because that's where you were first known. Do you have a band that you consider most your home?
Ooh, wow. Well, I mean, it would have to be Foreigner right now, because, I mean, that's my traveling family. That's our. But because Foreigner doesn't get to make as much new music as the other projects, the creative side of me really, really gravitates to End Machine and Black Swan, because those are two creative projects with guys that I have long time chemistry and I feel very solid chemistry with. And I enjoy making the records. And in both of those projects, no question to me, the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So those are my creative homes. But Foreigner has been such a wonderful family and such a wonderful environment and band to be in. And when we do get to work on new music, it's so inspiring. I mean, any chance I get to work with Mick Jones to me is just a golden day, because the guy is phenomenally talented. He's such a legend. He's such a great human being, and he's got the best stories you've ever heard. I mean, sometimes he'll say something out of the blue. It's like, I've known you 20 years and you just now told me that. There's those all the time because he has such an amazing career. I mean, he was in the room with the Beatles in Paris when they got the telegram that I Want to Hold Your Hand went #1 in the United States. He was in the room with them.
Wow.
Party.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's
pretty incredible.
Do you ever think 16-year-old Jeff would have thought, hey, I'm going to have a career with Foreigner for 20 plus years and such a great career in the music industry just as a whole?
Well, there was no Foreigner when I was 16.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But if the question is, did I ever expect that I'd be in that band? Of course not.
Right.
But it was a direction that I was kind of heading in. I mean, actually, when Foreigner came out in 1977, I was a real prog guy at that point. I mean, I was into Yes and Genesis and UK and ELP, and I mean, that stuff I was hardcore into that stuff. And in fact, my interest in Foreigner came about because of Ian McDonald, because I was like, oh, there's a new band with the guy from King Crimson. That was how I referred to Foreigner at first. And then I heard the music. I was like, wow, but it's straight ahead, really catchy, good rock, heavy grooves, but interesting. And, I fell in love instantly. So, forget where we were going with this, but
well, even just forget 16-year-old who didn't know Foreigner existed because they didn't yet. But just, did you ever envision at 16 years old having the type of career that you had?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I knew I was going to be a musician. I knew I was going to be a lifelong musician. What I would never have guessed is that I'd be still touring at this age, and that touring is actually the bread and butter of the industry right now. I would not have guessed that. I don't think anybody could have foresaw that 50 years ago. I would have expected, over time, I'd just make records. And I do love making records. Obviously, I go to great lengths to make records, that I wouldn't have to make, but I love to make. So it's just, I guess I could never have predicted that the live part of the industry would be so vital and that the recording part would get so hit. So I guess that's where I would be. Yeah.
Right. So then for Revolution Saints, right, we already said how it's not going to sell 1 million copies. Does it bother you that most people are going to be listening to it probably on YouTube or streaming on Spotify and not buying a physical product?
Well, if it bothered me, I'd have to get over that quick, because
I love how honest you are with that.
Yeah. I mean, but of course, there's a part of you that thinks, well, this is how I make my living. Shouldn't people buy the product? Yeah, of course, there's a part of me that feels that way. But then again, I understand how the whole thing works. I mean, I don't think the music business has found its business model yet of how to handle the whole streaming situation and everything else. The music business is in flux, and it's in trouble right now. And if it doesn't get out of flux and figure something out, you're going to have a real problem, because right now, the writers don't get compensated as they should.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm a writer. It's just the business model has turned atrocious. It really has. I think people are starting to be aware of this, but with streaming, the artist makes nothing. It's a joke. I mean, for instance, Pharrell Williams, the song Happy.
Sure.
Billions of downloads. Billions.
Yeah.
He should have made a mint off that song.
Sure.
You know how much he made from streaming? $40,000.
Really?
From that song.
Wow. Ouch.
Give me a break. That song was everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm not saying he didn't have other outlets where he was making. I mean, Pharrell is not, he's not in the Salvation Army breadlines right now.
Absolutely.
But the fact that streaming revenue is like that is just, that's criminal to me. So that does bother me, and that upsets me. But because I'm aware of all that, you just have to rearrange your life to fit that, which is why I live the life I do. I tour a lot, and I make records where, sure, I get paid to make the records, not like I would have been paid 30 years ago, but I get paid. But I don't have to depend on that.
To me, from the outside looking in, you almost get the best of both worlds, right? You're in Foreigner, a great touring band with a great following that could tour pretty much every year if they want it and pull in crowds. So you have that guarantee. But then off on the side here, you could also do all the albums and the songwriting you want without the pressure of, hey, I've got to sell 1 million copies. Otherwise, I'm going to be, living on a box of ramen noodles.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I try and look at it like that. I really do. There is that part of you that thinks, well, yeah, but remember when you used to sell lots of records and
Sure, of course.
Remember what those trips to the mailbox were like back then?
And I think that's even, look, to me, everybody wants to get paid for the work they do. So there's nothing wrong with a musician saying, hey, I've written songs, I want to be paid for it. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't want to get paid for the work they do?
Of course.
So the new album's coming out at April 14th. I'm going to say to everybody watching and listening, go buy the physical product, okay? To me, there's nothing better than holding that CD in your hands, or even better, I think there's going to be a vinyl version that comes out in the summer.
Yes.
Hold that. Yes. To me, I say this all the time. I remember in the 80s, sitting on my rug in my bedroom with the vinyl, looking at the artwork, reading the liner notes. That to me is part of the excitement of new music.
See, and you just hit on another sore spot for me, which is I really feel once we went from the format of vinyl to CD in the packaging, not even talking about the sonic quality or anything else, but the packaging, just by reducing the packaging, the excitement level went down 30% just from that alone, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because you are so right. It was the whole experience, an immersive experience. You went to the record store, you bought the record, you had to stand in line, you got it home, you pulled off the shrink wrap, you opened it up. And when they would have posters in it and stuff like that, that was the best.
I remember sometimes not even putting the record on right away because you just sit there and read some of the stuff that's inside the record.
Of course. And even when CDs have stuff in it, there's something about that size that just makes it not as appealing and certainly not as powerful. So, I mean, I know we're a couple of old guys, but I think it's a very relevant situation. Somebody needs to figure out better packaging for music to make it more of an experience.
Look, there's a reason on the wall over here on the other side of my room, I've got probably 25 framed albums.
Yeah.
You can't frame a download. You can't. You can't. So to me, that's just something about that artwork. You like that? Okay, gee, I'll have to use that again. But so I'm going to say, Revolution Saints, people go out, buy that physical product, the CD, the vinyl that's going to come out. Make sure you buy that because there's nothing like that. And if you've forgotten, go buy it because you'll be reminded. And the music on the album is great. You're going to love the record. It's just as good. The first 3 singles is just as good as everything else on the album. Get the physical product.
Thank you.
Anything else you want your fans to know about the record before we wrap up, Jeff?
About the Revolution Saints record? No, I mean, I think we've covered that. It's just going to be really fun. And I think if you like that music, you're going to be really happy.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, everybody's going to love it. Jeff, I want to thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you out on the road this year. And hopefully in 2024 and maybe further.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll see. Thank you again, Mike. And thank you for keeping the torch alive.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it and look forward to hearing the music and seeing you on the road. Take it easy.
You will indeed. Take care, man. Thanks.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye. Alrighty, there you have it. I'd like to thank Jeff for spending a lot of time with me chatting about the new Revolution Saints album as he was recovering from not feeling well. Thanks so much, Jeff. You're a real trooper. To everybody listening out there, you definitely want to check out the new Revolution Saints album coming out on April 21st called Eagle Flight. You guys are going to really love it. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that we love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.